Hello, hello, and welcome. This is our Lunch and Learn, where each and every week we explore topics to help you elevate your mindset, be at your best, and radically expand your life and business. And today you are in for a real treat because we have got a very special guest today that has built some massive momentum and had a phenomenal accomplishment recently that you're going to get the behind the scenes tour of so that you can see how she built and maintain the momentum during this very special project. So, if you're a professional woman who wants more out of life but feels a little overstretched and is ready for a boost, today is for you. But before we get into things, I want to know where you're coming in from. And if you're tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat. And if it's your first time here, type in first time in the chat because I truly thank you for being here and I appreciate your presence. Now, some of you know me, some of you don't. I am Larissa McCooch. I'm Canada's leading abundance mentor. And we work with professional women that have beautiful lives and are interested in personal growth and development because they know they want even more out of this lovely life. So we help them bridge the gap between dreaming and doing so they can have a life and business they want and love. And today's guest is very special. Her name is Demi Peters, and she is from my hometown. So this is Demi. She's from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and she is a mediator, an office manager of a very busy law firm, an academy administrator, and get this, mom of 4, and all children are under 5 years of age. I have one, and I love him. I love him so much, but I don't know how you do it. And she's still got a smile on her face, and she still shows up every single day. So earlier this year, Demi joined our abundance focus system within the Abundance Academy because she was working to start tipping the balance in her favor and she wanted to keep her priorities aligned. And that is exactly what we did because with all the stuff she's got going on, she was ready to reclaim her time and energy. So, Demi, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful.
Is there anything else you want listeners to know about you before we dive into your win and your story?
Yeah, I think you captured it all. Yeah, I'm a mom of 4, a wife, and I wear many hats here at the organization that I work at. So you got it all captured.
Okay, so tell us about your business. Tell us about what you do, and just maybe give us a bit of a picture of what your life looks like.
Yeah, for sure. So in 2015, I left a government position, nice and cushy, and I went out with Charmaine and we opened this law firm. So we've been in business for 10 years now. And so I run that organization. So before it was just the two of us, and now we're all the way up to 22 staff. So it has grown a lot in the last few years. And then we also opened a training division. So we train dispute resolution practitioners and conflict management professionals. And that was really started because of the legislative changes surrounding separation and divorce in Saskatchewan, and we knew that there was going to be this great need for mediators. So that's the academy administration side of things that I do, and then I also have my own mediation practice. So that's what our organization does, and that's kind of how I fit into the picture there.
Mm-hmm. So when we met, what caused you to join us? What were you looking to achieve for yourself, for your life, for your business?
Yeah, for sure. So you actually reached out to me on LinkedIn about a year ago. And at the time, I think it's so funny because we got on the call together and I had my little man with me. He was 2 months old at the time. And you were like, girl, aren't you supposed to be on maternity leave? And I was like, no, not for me. So I have been bringing my babies to work with me. I've been in and out of pregnancies for the last 7 years, but I have always had this mentality that I want it all and I can do it all. And so through like ongoing conversations with you, I ended up hopping on to the masterclass for the morning reset. And it just like it clicked with me. I was at a time in my life where I was really stretching myself so much. And one of the main messages that you really reinforced was that you can have it all, but you have to look at your time buckets and you have to understand like where your abundance is here and there in your time categories, and you have to prioritize, because otherwise you're going to lose it all. And it really just struck with me and connected. So you and I had a couple one-on-ones. You helped me write out my life script and what I really want out of this beautiful life. And then I joined up, and I've been doing the morning calls, and I also did the workshop with you last week. And it's been an incredible experience.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what were you struggling with before you started? Like what was the actual part of the struggle?
I would say it was like a misalignment for sure, because I was pouring so much time and effort into work, which is great. Like, work is one of my passions and I love it so much. But I was really neglecting other things that I always speak to as being high value for me and being something that's really important to me, but I wasn't making time for it. And so that was really my pain point when I started with you, and you have helped me so much look at my time, look at the areas that I can tweak and the ways I can realign how I'm spending my time to make sure that I'm getting all the work that I need to get done. Well, I'm also pouring into my little ones and my husband.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And what was your experience like? Is there anything you've gotten through this process that made it super effective that you wouldn't get anywhere else?
I loved the one-on-one that we did. I forget if it was like a monthly one-on-one or if it was, yeah, I think it was a monthly one-on-one because it was after my onboarding. And you sat with me and you talked about how much time do you need to accomplish this goal and what's your deadline. And I think I said something ridiculous like 60 hours. And then you looked at my calendar, you did it like you had me share my screen, and we just walked through it day by day, week by week, month by month, all the way up to my deadline. And you're like, this is very interesting, because how do you imagine this is working? Are you going to do some all-nighters? Like, what's up here? And so, and you challenged me in such a great way too, because and I think everybody does this, but I should only really speak for myself, where I'm like, okay, 8 hours, I'm going to do writing for 8 hours. And you're like, that's very interesting. Do you think you can do 8 hours? I was like, no, you're probably right. You're probably right. I probably need a lunch break in here. And oh, yeah, you're right. Like, I probably need to like massage this day a little bit better. And it was incredible because you also said, you know what? It might take you as long as you've said. And if it does, here are the things that you might have to do. You might have to pull all-nighters. You might have to change some of these time blocks to make sure you accomplish this. So you have to make sure you're really committed to this. And if you're not, then change your mind, do something else. And then the other thing is that it might take less time, and then make sure you reward yourself for that and you acknowledge all the hard work you've done. So that was something that I've never experienced prior to working with you, and I'm not sure who else would give me that kind of tough love. I loved it.
And so tell us about your results. So tell us about this like amazing project that you've had, and how it came to fruition.
Yes. So I've been working on material rewrites and refresh, and that was to support a private vocational school application. And so, why that's really important for our organization is because that will empower our students to be able to get funding in different ways that are not accessible when you're just a private training institute. Once you get that private vocational school level, that educational institute label, then you can issue tax receipts. People are eligible for more grant funding, all these sorts of things. So, I needed to do this, and it's been something that's been outstanding since the first time you talked to me. And I had actually had to ask for a deadline extension. And so and I got a very sternly worded email from the administrator. And they said, I will give you this one extension, but that's it. Like, this is your drop dead deadline, May 3rd. And so that was the project that I was working on. It was very intense, and it was intense because I hadn't been putting my mind to it in a thoughtful manner, and I hadn't been listening to my own time blocks. So having that accountability with you to sit down, look at my calendar, say, this is what's going on, and then your text reminders like, hey, how's it going? Like, what's up? Because then I know if I didn't do what I said I was going to do, Larissa's coming for me. She's checking in.
And so we had about, I think the timeline was about 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about when you like, how did it go? How was the process? When did you finish? What worked? What didn't with this amazing plan that you set out?
Yeah, it was, first of all, it's incredible what the time blocking does. And you say this all the time to me, like, this isn't new stuff. This isn't stuff you don't know. But sometimes when it's packaged differently and you're being held accountable to it in a different way, it clicks something different. Because I don't know how many times I've been told, block your calendar, protect your time, all of that kind of stuff. And it's never clicked before the same way it has with working with you. And my calendar was jamboree packed back to back to back, but the amount of time I experienced, and I was like taking my kids to the park, I was hanging out with my husband, doing all of these things that I never had time for before, and I was still hitting all of my targets, and I was actually ahead of schedule. I actually ended up completing it 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Yeah, just totally incredible. I have goosebumps even thinking about it. And it's so funny now because the response that I got back to the administrator was, no, she's too busy to review it. But it was so incredible. And I'm so thankful that I accomplished it, because without all of this accountability and without all of these strategies, I don't know if I would have made that deadline. And I certainly wouldn't have made it 3 weeks ahead of schedule. And the universe aligned, like all of this was very cosmically aligned, because unfortunately my husband ended up having to go into emergency surgery. And so my life totally looked different. And it was incredible because I had this space now in my calendar because I had accomplished that. If I hadn't, I would have been struggling to fight that deadline. It would have been so much more upsetting to my whole system and my whole work. But because everything was so cosmically aligned and because I had completed it so early, I was able to take the time away from the office. I was still working. And Larissa was still like, hey, how's it going? Making sure that I was still accomplishing the things that I had set out to do. But I was able to do that in a way to support my husband and family during that difficult time. So it was great.
Beautiful. And so what's now possible for you that you've experienced this?
Yeah, I honestly feel like anything's possible. And I'm also like looking around here being like, what's the next big project? Like I'm so excited about big, challenging experiences now in a way that I think it used to like trigger my overwhelm, and I immediately felt time scarcity. Immediately I was like, how can I make this happen? Oh, I don't have time. I don't have time. This was like the mantra that was just in my head all the time. But now I'm like, I know the strategies. I know the things I need to do, and I know how I can experience an abundance of time. And it's by being intentional with that time, being true to those time blocks, and having somebody that I can be accountable to.
You're giving me goosebumps. I'm excited to start on my next big project from you and from your inspiration. So, what would you tell someone that that has too much on the go, that is feeling all over the place, that doesn't know where to start, that feels overwhelmed just thinking about taking the next step, and they might need more focus or accountability or something? I always think of it like what I did with you. It's like when I was younger, my mom sat beside me and did my homework. She did it when I was young, but there was times in university she sat beside me and she helped me do my homework, and she didn't let me off the hook. But those moments really defined me because I knew she was in my corner. I knew she was there for me. I knew that I would learn from her helping me through the process. And so that's my thought whenever I sit down and I give people that tough love. It's like, yeah, it's like my mom doing my homework with me, because you learn and you can progress so much further faster. So if there's someone that's struggling and needing some help, what would you tell them? What would you advise them?
What I found really helpful in the beginning of working with you was when you asked me to write down my life script. And that really helped me think about, what am I doing right now that's moving me towards this life script and what I want to see in the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. And incredibly obvious to me when I was sitting down where I was misaligned and what tweaks I needed to make. So if you do nothing else, just sitting down and writing out your life script, I think is going to be incredibly helpful to just get you aligned, because our time gets gobbled up in such weird ways by things we're not even really paying attention to. And that was another thing that you had provided me, was a resource where I would just write down every single thing that I was doing. And that's when you really start to notice, hey, like, what's going on here? I am spending so much time doing all of these little things that are not moving me towards my ideal life. And that was also incredibly helpful, because even though I am still, this is my area of growth, is delegation, that immediately started to click for me, because hey, all of this stuff can easily be delegated. And the amount of time that it takes to delegate is going to be less than the amount of time it's going to eat up for me to do it in between all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm. I am so excited for you and your growth. And it's just been a very short period of time, right? It's only been a month or two, a couple months at most.
Yeah.
And you've already made such huge progress. I love that you're really moving forward in the direction that your dreams require. You have an amazing plan for Q1. So yes, you do have 4 other items that we talked about. So you've got them there. You've got them there. Go back to your lists. And I can't wait to hear how you keep crushing your dreams and crushing your goals, because that's what this is about. It's not about us just checking another box. It's about us reaching another level of fulfillment. It's about the things that you learn about yourself, about your life, about your dreams, about other people on this journey to what we call or seek of as success. And I know you're making such a huge difference to people all over the country, and to so many families that desperately need resolution, that need peace, that need help to get to a better outcome. So thank you for doing what you do. And thank you for being here and sharing your story, because I think a lot of people will definitely be able to relate to this. Maybe not the 4 kids under 5, but man, if Demi can do it with 4 kids under 5 years of age, that is absolutely remarkable. So have yourself a beautiful day. And thank you so much for coming. And those of you that are tuning in, thank you for tuning in. We will be back again next week with another lovely topic.